Hello, and welcome to a Cemetery Dance unboxing featuring every limited edition that they published this past year. I hate to say that it's a smaller box than they usually are, but it's one that I will share with you anyways because I aim to please. We've got 5 titles to look at. So for Cemetery Dance, I collect all of their titles, and they ship them to me in batches. So I present to you said batch, which unfortunately most of the titles in here are sold out already, so you'd have to go to the secondary market to find them. But maybe if you want to just live vicariously through the videos, no judgment. Anyways, let's start out with the big one, both in terms of size and in terms of excitement. We'll get those other ones out of the way. This is Interview with the Vampire, not a vampire, the Vampire, by Anne Rice. Now, unfortunately, Anne Rice did not live to actually see this edition in the light of day, but she had signed it prior to her passing. This is number 160 to match many of my other many of my other Cemetery Dance titles. It does match some of my sub-press titles too, but namely my Cemetery Dance titles. So this one is artwork by Caniglia, right? It looks like Caniglia. Cover artwork by Caniglia, that is correct. This guy has been in production for a while. So Cemetery Dance, they get a lot of flack, they get a lot of criticism for just the length of publication time. Is that a little specs on the back there? Is that bonus foil? I don't know. And this is no exception to that. This was announced years ago. I actually received the arc of this years ago. I don't know if the arc, I'm trying to look up as if it's on the bookshelf in front of me. It's not on the bookshelf in front of me. I got various arcs on the bookshelf in front of me, not this one. I can't remember what the date was on that arc, but I don't think it was 2023. Anyways, at least they got it out before the 50th anniversary edition, right? 50th anniversary edition coming in 2 years from Suntop Editions. Don't quote me on that. That's just a random hunch. There's actually nothing to solidify that. So anyways, dive into the world of the Vampire Lestat with Interview for the Vampire. This was putting horny vampires on the page and sexy vampires on the page decades before Twilight did it. There's not really any bonus. I don't think there's any bonus material. There's no bonus material with this. It's just just the novel proper, but it's decent quality. Nice little cloth bound book. I got some specs on mine, bonus foil. But yeah, I like it. It's not bad. That's my thing with Cemetery Dance, is that I don't mind waiting, because I personally don't mind waiting, because you usually get a very nice quality book once you do get it. I mean, obviously, it's still not going to be the same quality as like a Suntop or a fine press edition, like what Subterranean Press is doing these days, but it's a nice small press quality book. Very nice indeed. And plus, I've got too many books on my TBR pile to need this now, so as long as I get it in my hands eventually, I'm content. But I totally understand people who are frustrated and want the books now. I get that as well. So, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to criticize you if you guys are criticizing Cemetery Dance, because I get it. I get it. I think, they earn that criticism. I personally don't mind it. I don't mind the wait, but I'm struggling to get these other books out. Anyways, up next, we got 4 other books. We're going to start with, I guess, the next big one. It's big in terms of having Stephen King's name on it. This is A Face in the Crowd and The Longest December. It's a flip book. It's a double novel. Longest December being an expanded edition of Richard Chizmar's short story, and Face in the Crowd being the first time in hardcover for the Stephen King Stewart O'Nan short story. I don't know how I'm going to shelve this. Very nice. This is not the first time they've done a flip novel. In fact, I guess Cemetery Dance technically is, at least first I'm aware of. An offshoot of Cemetery Dance, which is Lonely Road Books, which is the fine press edition of Cemetery Dance, did a flip novel with Ray Garton, crime novels, under the name Arthur Darknell. Very cool production. This one, nice little trade edition, first Cemetery Dance. Cover artwork by Francois Vaillancourt himself. So we have Face in the Crowd, which deals with a baseball fan, because when Stephen King and Stewart O'Nan are getting together, baseball's going to be involved. Who did the interior illustrations? Oh, Mark Edward Geyer. He did the interior artwork. Look at that. He's a baseball fan who sees a familiar face, a face that shouldn't be there. Apparently it's Danny from The Shining. A face that shouldn't be there in the crowd behind the home plate. And I don't know. That's probably a spoiler. And he starts seeing other faces in this crowd, and faces that shouldn't be there, and it's kind of alarming. Meanwhile, The Longest December is what if your neighbor isn't who you think your neighbor is. This has to do with, a nice, is he a veteran? I think he's a veteran. Nice little veteran neighbor. And they start to be told that the neighbor is being investigated for some crimes. That you're like, what? Mr. Smith, he couldn't do that. Mr. Smith could do that. And you can read all about it in The Longest December. So yeah, nice little flip book. I think it's all right, Okay. So this is obviously not signed by Richard Chizmar or Stephen King. It's a bummer. I kind of was hoping that Richard Chizmar would sign the trade edition, but he did not sign it. What the hell, Rich? Anyways, there are two other editions coming out. One is the artist edition. Right? There's an artist edition for this one. And then there's a lettered edition. Or I could be mistaken. Maybe that's strictly the Flight or Fright, because that has an artist edition. I think this one has an artist edition as well as a lettered edition. The lettered edition is signed by Stephen King. Don't know when that's going to come out. Eventually is my answer for that one. Eventually. Next up, this one I'm going to kind of glance over very quickly. This is The Summoning by Bentley Little, Graveyard Editions. This one is 160. I feel like the copy I received earlier in 2023 was 160. I could be mistaken on that, though. So I did do an unboxing video solely for The Summoning. This is Bentley Little's vampire novel. Features a the in the title, takes place in Arizona, involves some evil force coming into town. The evil force is a vampire. You can read all about it. I have not read this one yet, but I do have an unboxing video solely for it. And I feel like this copy, is that a cut in the back cover? Are you seeing that? Aw, it's a little defect. It's not deep or anything, it's just visual, but it's visually unflattering. Anyways, that's The Summoning. Moving on to the next one. The other Graveyard Edition book, this one is also sold out, is Disappearance at Devil's Rock by Paul Tremblay. I like the Graveyard Editions. I wish they would do more of these. I know they are going to do more of these, but they have the same delays that many other Cemetery Dance titles have, which is a nice kind of fake faux leather cover. Kind of looks like an Easton Press book. It doesn't really have the foiled gilded page edges, but it does have some nice little end papers. Signed by the author. This is number 160 of 500 copies. It's a fancy trade edition, but it is very fancy. Disappearance at Devil's Rock is a disappearance in a small town. I haven't read this one by Paul Tremblay. Big surprise. I thought this was the one that was in a weird format, but I'm just flipping through this, and it doesn't seem to be in a weird format. Oh, here we go. I guess this is kind of a weird format, where it's not really a script per se, but it's just dialogue driven. Yeah. I guess the whole novel is like that. No, it's not. Here it is. I don't know. Anywho, Disappearance at Devil's Rock. When I read it, I will do a book review on it. It's actually the second version of this that I have. They also did an SST version, SST Publications. I will admit the SST version, probably a little bit nicer. I like a nice cloth-bound book. It has artwork by Daniel Serra. Same kind of limitation signature. I think that was also 500 copies. Finally, last but not least, we have DMV by Bentley Little. Not the DMV. This is just DMV. with artwork, if I'm not mistaken, by Kealan Patrick Burke, right? Yeah. Elderlemon design. He put the in the DMV. All hail the DMV with a murder hornet up on top there. And I've got some like gold flecks on there. You know what the gold flecks probably are? It's probably from the back of this Disappearance at Devil's Rock. So boom, I got a bedazzled DMV. What do you got? Haven't read DMV yet. It's the newest Bentley Little novel. All hail the DMV. If I had to guess, it's going to take place in Arizona. It's going to follow an everyman, and that everyman is going to have to deal with an evil force that has moved into town in the case of the DMV, which is going to have some very suspicious things going on. Some are probably going to be very sexual in nature, going to make you very uncomfortable as a reader, and he's going to have to overcome these evils to reach an ending that may or may not actually answer all of the questions of what's going on with the DMV. It leaves a little ambiguity there. And that's not me dissing Bentley Little. I actually enjoy a good Bentley Little read. That's just me saying that he is a very formulaic author, which isn't a problem. It's only a problem if you read a bunch of his titles back to back. You might not be able to get through them all if you're doing it that way. You might need a break. You need a buffer read in between here or there, which is fine. That's how I do it with Bentley Little. Start with the Mailman, read the Mailman, read the Revelation, then read something else, then you come back to Bentley Little. I've enjoyed all that I've read by him. Dispatch was my least favorite by him. It was just, Dispatch was all right. But The Store, I read The Haunted. He's got a knack for his almost sickening horror. Like I said, there's some perverse things that'll happen in his novels that if you're of a light stomach, you might not enjoy. I wouldn't call it extreme horror, but he kind of dips his toes in every now and then. But this is the trade edition. So of all of these books that I've just unboxed here, the 2023 book haul from Cemetery Dance, of this book haul, all of them are limited editions and sold out with the exception of these two, DMV and The Face in the Crowd, doubled with Longest December. These two are trade editions. You can pick those up wherever books are sold or through Cemetery Dance. As far as the other three titles go, Disappearance at Devil's Rock, The Summoning, and Interview with the Vampire, they're all limited editions, all long sold out. You have to go on the secondary market for some of those. But I don't think the prices are too wild. Interview with the Vampire might be, especially in light of Anne Rice's passing. That might be a little tougher to find. But I think it's a decent book haul. This is the 2023 outlook. I mean, it's not decent if you compare it with other presses. If you do a similar book haul of 2023 titles. Saying 2023 really, really fast makes me sound like Tweety Bird. Doing a 2023 lineup of other presses will put Cemetery Dance to shame, I'm sorry to say. Suntup did 12 titles. Subterranean Press did an exorbitant amount of titles. Weird House Press snuck up and really kicked ass. This is not including the trade line. I will point that out. So even though these two are trade titles, the trade hardcovers, this does not include the trade paperbacks the Cemetery Dance does. And they do a ton of those. But I am not privy on those ones. It'd be cool to get copies of those ones, but it's not in my current purchasing plan like these hardcovers are. Speaking of the paperback line, Kevin Lucia used to the paperbacks. He has since announced that he's stepping down from the paperback line to focus on his teaching career, but is being taken over by Lisa Lebel and Dan Franklin. So you're in really good hands there. Very excited to see what Dan Franklin brings to the table. Dan Franklin is, first of all, a great writer. Kevin Lucia is a good writer too. But Dan Franklin is very active in the books of horror community. So I expect that his role in the paperback line might be intrinsically linked with books of horror. You might be seeing more promotions on there. You might be seeing more interviews with authors or more community involvement. It sounds like this is all speculation. This is all just me spitballing on what might happen, but I'm very excited by what might happen. You never know. So anyways, check out Cemetery Dance. Even if you don't want to wait for the limited editions, check out their trade editions. The trade editions are quick and easy. Or if you just want to wait patiently for your Cemetery Dance books, you can do that too. I do these unboxings as I receive them, so there's plenty of videos for you to check out on the channel if you want to just watch them here, plus unboxings from many other presses and book reviews in between there. So please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you around next time.